I wasn't supposed to notice the way they smelled. 3 alphas in tailored suits, standing in the marble lobby like they owned the building, which, technically, they did. Their scents hit me all at once. Sharp cedar, warm leather, and something sweet underneath that made my instincts flicker to life before I could shut them down. I shoved my hands in my jacket pockets and kept walking. "Mr. Castellano," the receptionist's voice echoed across the lobby. "They're ready for you." I didn't miss the way all 3 of them turned at once, synchronized, unnerving. Yeah, this job was already weird. "My name is Dante Castellano, and I'm a bodyguard. Not the kind you're picturing, some 6-foot wall of muscle with an earpiece and a permanent scowl. I'm 5 to 10 on a good day, lean enough to move fast, and I've got a face people call pretty when they're trying to be polite. When they're not being polite, they usually ask why an Omega is doing a job meant for alphas. I stopped answering that question 3 years ago. The truth? I'm good at what I do. Better than most of the alphas I've worked with, actually. I've got military hand-to-hand training, a certification in executive protection, and exactly 0 patience for people who assume my designation means I'm weak. It doesn't? I applied for this job the same way I applied for every other job. Saw the posting, sent my resume, aced the interview. The security company, Sentinel Guard Solutions, was one of the most reputable firms in New York. They didn't care that I was an Omega. They cared that I could do the work, and I could. The job description was straightforward. Protect 3 high-profile alpha heirs from an unspecified corporate threat. Long hours, high pay, NDAs thicker than a phone book. I'd done worse for less money. What they didn't mention was that all 3 clients would look like they'd walked out of a magazine spread and smell like my worst distraction. I stepped into the elevator and jabbed the button for the penthouse. My reflection stared back at me in the polished steel doors, dark hair still damp from my morning run, gray eyes shadowed from too little sleep, the faint scar along my jawline from a job gone sideways 2 years ago. I looked tired. I looked ready. The elevator doors opened. The penthouse was the kind of place you saw in movies, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, furniture that probably cost more than my yearly rent, and 3 alphas standing near the window like they were posing for a corporate photo shoot. They turned when I walked in. The first one was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark blonde hair styled in that effortless way rich people pulled off. His eyes were a cold, calculating blue. He looked like the kind of guy who'd buy a company just to fire the CEO for fun. The second one was leaner, with black hair and sharp cheekbones that could cut glass. He wore glasses that somehow made him look more dangerous, not less. His gray eyes tracked my every movement, like he was cataloging my weak points. The third one smiled. That was somehow worse. He had warm brown hair, hazel eyes, and dimples. Dimples. Like he was trying to trick me into thinking he was harmless. I wasn't buying it. "Mr. Castellano." The blonde one stepped forward first, extending a hand. His voice was smooth, controlled. "I'm Ashton Reid. These are my brothers." He gestured to the one with glasses. "Carter," then to the smiling one, "and Lucas." I shook Ashton's hand. His grip was firm, professional. I felt the faint buzz of his alpha presence pressing against my senses, testing. I didn't flinch. "Dante," I said. "Just Dante." Carter adjusted his glasses, his gaze sharp. "Your file says you've worked executive protection for 5 years. Military background. Impressive." "Thanks." I dropped Ashton's hand and met Carter's stare head-on. "I'm good at my job." "Confident," Lucas said, still smiling. "I like that." "I'm not here for you to like me," I said. "I'm here to keep you alive." The room went quiet. Ashton's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, amusement maybe. Carter tilted his head like I was a puzzle he hadn't solved yet. Lucas's smile widened. "Direct," Ashton said. "Also impressive." "Look," I crossed my arms. "Your company hired me because there's a credible threat against you. I don't know the details yet, and frankly, I don't care. My job is to assess risks, neutralize problems, and make sure none of you end up dead. That means you follow my instructions. No arguments, no exceptions." Carter raised an eyebrow. "You do realize we're alphas?" "Yeah," I noticed. I didn't bother hiding my sarcasm. "You want a cookie?" Lucas laughed, a genuine, surprised sound that echoed through the penthouse. Carter's jaw tightened. Ashton's mouth twitched like he was fighting a smile. "We'll see how this arrangement works out," Ashton said smoothly. We will, I agreed. I didn't miss the way all three of them watched me as I moved to the window, scanning sight lines and exit points. Professional. Detached. Except my instincts were still humming. Their sense lingered in the air, layered, distinct, impossible to ignore. My pulse kicked up, just slightly, just enough to annoy me. I was a professional. I didn't get distracted by clients, no matter how good they smelled. This job was going to be fine. Totally fine. One more thing, Ashton said as I turned to leave. We'll need you to stay on site. There's a room prepared for you on this floor. I paused. On site. Security protocol, Carter added. You'll be with us 24/7 until the threat is neutralized. Of course. Fine, I said. Lucas was still watching me, his hazel eyes bright with something I couldn't name. This is going to be fun. I shot him a flat look. Your definition of fun concerns me, he grinned. I walked out before any of them could say anything else. But as the door closed behind me, I felt it, that pull. That faint electric hum beneath my skin that whispered danger and stay in equal measure. I ignored it, or at least, I tried to. The hallway outside the penthouse was quieter than it should have been. My footsteps echoed against polished marble, each step a reminder that I was alone with three alphas whose scents were still clinging to my jacket like they'd marked me without permission. I pulled out my phone, pretending to check messages I didn't have. Anything to stop thinking about the way Lucas's smile had lingered, the way Carter's gaze had felt like a scalpel, the way Ashton's voice had wrapped around my name like he was testing how it tasted. Professional. I was a professional. The door behind me clicked open. I didn't turn around. Didn't need to. The shift in the air told me exactly who it was. Forget something? I asked, still facing the elevator. You did. Lucas's voice was closer than I expected. I turned, and yeah, there he was, leaning against the doorframe like he had all the time in the world, holding a key card between two fingers. Your access card, he said. For your room. Can't exactly protect us if you can't get in. I walked back and reached for it. He didn't let go. Our fingers brushed. Just for a second. Just long enough for his scent to hit me again, stronger this time, like standing too close to a fireplace. Warm. Sweet. Dangerous. My instincts flared. I yanked my hand back, keycard and all. Thanks, I said flatly. Lucas tilted his head, studying me like I was something fascinating he'd found under a microscope. You're not what I expected. Yeah, I get that a lot. No, I mean. He stepped closer. Not threatening, just curious. Most Omegas would have been nervous. You walked in here like you owned the place. I don't need to own it, I said. I just need to keep you alive. His smile softened into something almost genuine. You really don't care that we're alphas, do you? Should I? Most people do. I shrugged. Most people aren't me. He laughed again. That same surprised, unguarded sound from before. It did something weird to my chest that I absolutely was not going to analyze. I like you, Dante. Good for you, I said. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a perimeter to check. I turned to leave. Wait. I stopped. Something in his voice had shifted. Less playful. More serious. Be careful, Lucas said quietly. The threat against us. It's real. And it's closer than you think. I looked back at him. His hazel eyes weren't smiling anymore. I'm always careful, I said. He nodded slowly. Then his expression brightened again, like flipping a switch. Good, because I'd hate for anything to happen to you. You just met me. Yeah. His smile turned crooked. And I already know you're going to be trouble. Before I could respond, he slipped back inside and closed the door. I stood there for a moment, staring at the polished wood. What the hell was that supposed to mean? My room was down the hall. Not as big as the penthouse, but still nicer than anywhere I'd lived in the past 5 years. King-size bed, attached bathroom, a window overlooking the city skyline. I dropped my bag on the floor and pulled out my tablet, pulling up the files Sentinel Guard had sent over. Reid Industries, tech conglomerate, estimated worth $4.7 billion. The triplets had inherited the company 6 months ago after their father's sudden death. Since then, there'd been 3 attempted breaches of their corporate servers, 2 suspicious accidents involving company vehicles, and 1 very clear death threat delivered to their office. No suspects, no clear motive, just a lot of rich people with reasons to want the Reid brothers gone. Great. I pulled up the security camera feeds for the building, scanning for blind spots. There were a few. I made notes. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Dinner is at 7. Don't be late. I stared at the message. Ashton had my number. Of course he did. Probably ran a full background check the second I walked through the door. Me. I'm not your guest. I'm your bodyguard. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Unknown number. You still have to eat. Fair point. Me. Fine. I tossed my phone onto the bed and headed for the shower. Maybe hot water would wash away whatever the hell was crawling under my skin. It didn't. 7 o'clock sharp, I walked back into the penthouse. All 3 of them were already seated at a dining table that could have fit 12 people. Ashton at the head, Carter to his right, Lucas to his left. They looked up when I entered. Punctual, Ashton observed. It's a gift, I said, sliding into the chair across from Lucas. A woman in a crisp uniform appeared from the kitchen, setting down plates of food that smelled better than anything I'd eaten in months. Seared steak, roasted vegetables, some kind of fancy potato thing. I picked up my fork. So, Lucas said, chin propped on his hand. Tell us about yourself, Dante. No. Carter's eyebrows rose. No? You hired me to protect you, not to be your dinner entertainment. Technically, Sentinel Guard hired you, Carter corrected. We're just the beneficiaries. Semantics. Ashton cut into his steak with surgical precision. You're not curious about us? I read your files, I said. I know what I need to know. Files don't tell you everything, Lucas said. They tell me enough. Like what? Carter challenged. I met his gaze. Like the fact that you've got enemies, plural, and at least one of them wants you dead. The room went quiet. Ashton set down his knife. You don't pull punches, do you? Why would I? Most people try to be diplomatic. I'm not most people. I took a bite of steak. It was perfect, annoying, and diplomacy doesn't stop bullets. Lucas grinned. I told you I liked him. You like everyone, Carter muttered. Not true. I'm very selective. You smiled at the mail carrier yesterday. He was nice. I bit back a smile. These 3 were something. Polished, powerful, and apparently prone to bickering like kids. Ashton's gaze hadn't left me. You're not afraid of us. It wasn't a question. Should I be? I asked. Most Omegas are. Around alphas like us. I set down my fork. Let me make something very clear. I'm not most Omegas. I'm your bodyguard. That means I don't flinch, I don't fold, and I definitely don't get scared just because you've got a fancy designation. If that's a problem, fire me now. Silence stretched between us. Then Ashton smiled. Actually smiled. It changed his whole face. No, he said softly. That's not a problem at all. Something in his tone made my pulse skip. Carter was watching me again, analyzing. Lucas's foot brushed mine under the table. I pulled my leg back. Oops, Lucas said, not sounding sorry at all. This job was going to be a nightmare. A very well-paid nightmare. I finished my steak in silence, ignoring the way all 3 of them kept sneaking glances at me like I was a puzzle they couldn't figure out. The food was good. The company was complicated. So, Lucas said, breaking the quiet, what's the plan? Do we get matching panic buttons? Secret code words? You get to follow my instructions, I said. That's the plan. Carter leaned back in his chair. And if we don't, then I let natural selection do its job. Lucas choked on his wine. Ashton's lips twitched. Carter just stared at me. You're serious? Dead serious, no pun intended. I pushed my empty plate away. Starting tomorrow, I shadow all 3 of you, everywhere. Meetings, errands, bathroom breaks if necessary. Bathroom breaks? Lucas's eyes lit up with amusement. I'll wait outside, I clarified. But yeah, everywhere. That seems excessive, Carter said. So does getting killed. Ashton stood, buttoning his suit jacket with practiced ease. He's right. If Sentinel Guard says we need 24/7 protection, we follow protocol. Thank you, I said, standing as well. Don't thank me yet. Ashton's blue eyes locked onto mine. You'll be staying in close quarters with us for the foreseeable future. That means attending company events, social gatherings, private meetings. You'll need to blend in. I frowned. Blend in how? You'll need better clothes, for one. I looked down at my jeans and jacket. What's wrong with my clothes? Nothing, Lucas said quickly. You look great. Carter shot him a look. I mean, professional, Lucas amended. Very professional. I raised an eyebrow. You're a terrible liar. It's one of my best qualities. Ashton pulled out his phone, typing something quickly. I'm sending you the address of our tailor. He'll have suits ready for you by tomorrow afternoon. I don't need suits. You do if you're attending the charity gala with us tomorrow night. I blinked. Excuse me? Charity gala, Ashton repeated slowly, like I hadn't heard him. 500 guests, half of them potential business partners, the other half potential threats. You'll need to be there. As your bodyguard, as our date. The room went silent. I stared at him. You're what? Not a real date, Carter clarified, though his tone was tight. A cover. People will ask questions if we show up with security. But if you're there as a companion, it draws less attention. A companion, I repeated flatly. A+1, Lucas offered helpfully. I know what a date is, I snapped. And that's the dumbest cover story I've ever heard. Ashton's expression didn't change. It's effective. Trust me. Trust you, I laughed, sharp and humorless. I've known you for 3 hours. Then get to know us faster. Something about the way he said it made my stomach twist. Not fear. Something worse. I crossed my arms. Fine. I'll go to your stupid gala, but I'm not pretending to be anyone's date. I'll be there as security. End of story. Agreed, Ashton said. Too easy. Lucas grinned. This is going to be fun. Your definition of fun is deeply concerning, I muttered. After dinner, they didn't dismiss me. Instead, Ashton gestured toward the living room, a sprawling space with leather couches and a view that probably cost more than my entire net worth. We need to go over security protocols, Ashton said, settling into an armchair. I sat across from him. Carter took the couch. Lucas sprawled next to his brother, legs stretched out like he didn't have a care in the world. First, I said, pulling out my tablet, I need a full schedule for all 3 of you. Meetings, appointments, everything. Done. Ashton's phone buzzed. I just sent it to you. I opened the file. My eyes widened. You have 16 meetings tomorrow? 17, Carter corrected. The board called an emergency session at noon. And you? I pointed at Lucas. Why do you have a doctor's appointment at 10? Lucas shrugged. Routine checkup. Cancel it. Can't. It's mandatory. Company insurance. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Fine, but I'm coming with you. To the doctor? Everywhere, I repeated. That's the job. Lucas's smile turned sly. Does that include the shower? Lucas, Ashton said, voice flat. What? I'm just clarifying boundaries. The boundary, I said, meeting Lucas's gaze dead on, is that I go where you go. If you've got a problem with that, take it up with your brother. Lucas tilted his head. I don't have a problem with it. The way he said it made heat crawl up the back of my neck. I ignored it. Good, I said curtly. Now, about the gala. I'll need blueprints of the venue, guest list, and security details. Already compiled. Carter handed me a folder. Actual paper. Who still used paper? I flipped it open. The venue was massive. Too many exits, too many blind spots. This place is a nightmare, I muttered. It's the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Ashton said. One of the most secure locations in the city. Secure for art, not for people. You'll have backup, Carter said. Sentinel Guard is assigning 2 additional agents to work the perimeter. Names? Marcus Cho and Elena Vasquez. Both former military. I nodded. I'd worked with Marcus before. Good guy. Solid instincts. Fine, but I'm running point. Anything happens, you follow my lead. No arguments. No arguments, Ashton agreed. I didn't trust how easily he said that. Lucas stretched, his shirt riding up just enough to reveal a strip of toned stomach. I looked away. So, Lucas said lazily, what do you do for fun, Dante? I work. That's not fun. It pays the bills. Come on, there's got to be something. Hobbies, interests, secret obsessions? I gave him a flat look. Why do you care? Because we're going to be spending a lot of time together. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Might as well get to know each other. I'm not here to make friends. Who said anything about friends? His smile was pure mischief. Carter sighed. Lucas, stop flirting with the bodyguard. I'm not flirting. You absolutely are. I'm being friendly. You're being a menace. I stood abruptly. I'm going to do a perimeter check. Ashton rose as well. I'll come with you. That's not necessary. I insist. There was no room for argument in his tone. Fine. Whatever. I headed for the door, Ashton falling into step beside me. His presence was heavy. Not oppressive, exactly. Just impossible to ignore. We walked the hallway in silence. I checked the stairwell exits, tested the locks on the emergency doors, scanned for cameras. You're very thorough, Ashton observed. That's the job. You don't talk much. I talk when I have something to say. He smiled faintly. Fair. We reached the end of the hall. I turned to head back. Ashton caught my wrist. Not hard. Not threatening. Just enough to stop me. I looked down at his hand, then up at his face. What? I asked. His blue eyes were unreadable. You don't have to be so guarded all the time. Yes, I do. That's literally my job. I don't mean professionally. His thumb brushed against my pulse point. Just once. I mean with us. My heart kicked against my ribs. I pulled my hand free. I don't know what you think this is, but I'm not interested. In what? Whatever game you're playing. Ashton stepped closer. Not crowding. Just there. His scent wrapped around me. Cedar and something darker, richer. This isn't a game, he said quietly. Then what is it? He smiled. Slow. Dangerous. I haven't decided yet. He walked past me, back toward the penthouse, leaving me standing alone in the hallway with my pulse racing and my instincts screaming warnings I refused to hear. I pressed my palm against the cool wall, took a breath. This was fine. Everything was fine. I was a professional. And professionals didn't get distracted by clients who smelled like sin and spoke in riddles. No matter how good they looked doing it, I pushed off the wall and headed back toward the penthouse, jaw tight. The door was still open. Voices drifted out, low and tense. Don't think that was subtle. Carter's voice, clipped with irritation. I wasn't trying to be subtle. Ashton, you're going to scare him off. He doesn't scare easy. I stepped through the doorway. All three of them went quiet, turning toward me like I'd interrupted something important. Perimeter's clear, I said, keeping my voice neutral. I'm calling it a night unless you need something else. Actually, Lucas said, standing up from the couch. There is one more thing. I waited. He crossed the room, stopping just close enough that I had to tilt my head back slightly to meet his eyes. He was taller than I'd realized. Broader, too. Your room, Lucas said. It's too far away. I blinked. It's down the hall. Exactly. If something happens, response time matters. You should be closer. How much closer? He gestured toward a door on the opposite side of the living room. That guest suite, it connects to the main penthouse. You'd have direct access. I looked at Ashton. Is this a joke? It's practical, Ashton said. Lucas is right. Response time could be the difference between life and death. It's also invasive. It's necessary, Carter added, though he didn't sound thrilled about it either. I crossed my arms. Let me guess. This was your idea? I looked at Lucas. He grinned. Guilty. Of course it was. Come on, Dante. Don't you want to keep us safe? His tone was teasing, but there was something serious underneath it. I can keep you safe from down the hall, but you could keep us safer from here. He had a point. I hated that he had a point. Fine, I said. But if any of you try to use this as an excuse to bother me in the middle of the night, I'm switching back. Deal, Lucas said immediately. Too immediately. Ashton's mouth curved. Lucas will help you move your things. I don't need help. Yes, you do, Lucas said, already heading for the door. You've got that giant duffel bag. I saw it earlier. Come on. He didn't wait for me to argue. Just walked out. I looked at Ashton and Carter. Is he always like this? Yes, they said in unison. Great. Lucas was already in my old room by the time I caught up, slinging my duffel over his shoulder like it weighed nothing. I can carry my own bag, I said. I know, but I'm being helpful. He flashed that dimpled smile again. You should appreciate it. I'll appreciate it when you stop trying to manipulate me. Who's manipulating? He started walking. I'm just saying, wouldn't it be nice to have someone carry your stuff for once? I've been carrying my own stuff for years, and now you don't have to. I followed him back to the penthouse, biting back the urge to argue further. Pick your battles, Dante. The guest suite was bigger than my old room. Way bigger. King bed, sitting area, floor-to-ceiling windows with blackout curtains, a bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people. I tried not to think about why that detail caught my attention. Lucas set my bag down on the bed. See? Much better. It's unnecessary. It's closer. He turned to face me, hands in his pockets. And honestly, I'll sleep better knowing you're right here. Something about the way he said it made my chest tighten. Why? I asked before I could stop myself. Why what? Why do you care? You just met me. Lucas tilted his head, studying me with those warm hazel eyes. You're protecting us. That means I care whether you're safe too. I can take care of myself. I know. He stepped closer. Not threatening. Just there. But maybe you don't have to. Not all the time. My pulse kicked up. His scent was stronger here, without the space of the living room to dilute it. Warm and sweet and completely unfair. Lucas, I said, keeping my voice steady. Whatever you think this is, you're wrong. What do I think it is? I don't know. But I'm not interested in finding out. His smile softened. You sure about that? Positive. Okay. He didn't move. But just so you know, I think you're lying. Excuse me? Your scent. He breathed in, slow and deliberate. It changes when you're lying. Gets sharper. Defensive. Heat flooded my face. That's not. It's okay, Lucas said gently. You don't have to admit anything. Not yet. Not ever. He laughed, soft and low. We'll see. Then he walked out, leaving me standing alone in a room that suddenly felt way too small. I locked the door behind him, pressed my forehead against the cool wood. This job was going to kill me, not the threats. Not the danger. Them. Late night. I couldn't sleep. The bed was too soft. The room was too quiet. And every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ashton's hand on my wrist, felt Lucas's breath against my skin, heard Carter's sharp, analytical voice picking me apart. At midnight, I gave up. I pulled on sweatpants and a t-shirt, padding barefoot into the main living area. The city lights spilled through the windows, painting everything in shades of silver and blue. The kitchen was open concept, separated from the living room by a marble island. I found the coffee maker, started a pot. Can't sleep? I spun around. Carter stood in the doorway of another room, wearing pajama pants and a fitted black shirt. His glasses were gone, dark hair slightly mussed. He looked softer, less intimidating, almost human. Didn't mean to wake you, I said. You didn't. I was working. He moved into the kitchen, leaning against the counter across from me. Coffee at midnight seems counterproductive if you're trying to sleep. Who said I was trying? His gray eyes studied me. You're wound pretty tight. Comes with the job. Or maybe it's just you. I poured 2 cups without asking if he wanted one, sliding one across the counter to him. He caught it, fingers brushing the ceramic. You don't trust us, Carter said. Not a question. I don't trust anyone. Smart. He took a sip. But exhausting. So is getting stabbed in the back. Speaking from experience? I didn't answer. Carter set his cup down. Look, I know Lucas comes on strong, and Ashton can be intense. But they mean well. And you? Me? What's your angle? He smiled, sharp and quick. I don't have one. I'm just trying to figure you out. Good luck with that. I like puzzles. I'm not a puzzle. Everyone's a puzzle. He pushed off the counter, moving closer. Some are just harder to solve than others. And if I don't want to be solved, then I'll respect that. He stopped just within arm's reach. But I'll still be curious. The air between us felt charged. Different from Lucas's warmth or Ashton's controlled intensity, Carter was all sharp edges and careful observation. You're staring, I said. So are you. Fair. I broke eye contact first, hating myself for it. I should get some sleep. Probably. But he didn't move. Neither did I. Dante, Carter said quietly. If this is too much, if we're too much, you can leave. No one's forcing you to stay. My contract says otherwise. Contracts can be broken. I met his gaze. I don't break contracts. Even when you should? Especially then. Something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe. Or understanding. Okay, he said. Then I'll see you in the morning. He took his coffee and walked back toward his room, leaving me alone with mine. I stared into the dark liquid. watching my reflection ripple on the surface. 3 alphas, 1 omega. And absolutely no way this ended well. I drained the cup in one long swallow, ignoring the way it burned going down. Pain I could handle. It was everything else I wasn't sure about. I set the empty cup in the sink, the porcelain clinking too loud in the silence. My reflection stared back at me from the darkened window, distorted by city lights and my own tired eyes. Get it together, Dante. I turned to head back to my room and nearly walked straight into Ashton. Jesus, I hissed, hand flying to my chest. Do you people not sleep? He stood there in dark lounge pants and a white t-shirt that should have looked casual but somehow didn't. His hair was slightly mussed, like he'd been running his fingers through it. Apparently not, he said. His voice was rougher than usual. Tired. Neither do you. I was just leaving. Stay. He moved past me into the kitchen, opening a cabinet. I could use the company. I'm not really the company type. I noticed. He pulled out a bottle of whiskey, holding it up. Want some? It's midnight. That's not a no. I should have said no. Should have walked away. Instead, I found myself saying, 1 drink. Ashton poured 2 glasses, neat, and slid one across to me. I caught it, our fingers not quite touching this time. He leaned against the counter, watching me over the rim of his glass. You don't like us very much, do you? I took a sip. The whiskey burned, smooth and expensive. I don't know you well enough to like or dislike you. Diplomatic answer. Honest answer. Is it? He swirled the amber liquid. Because from where I'm standing, you look like you're waiting for us to disappoint you. The observation hit closer than I wanted to admit. That's not. It's okay, Ashton interrupted. I get it. You've been hurt before. My jaw tightened. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. He set his glass down. I know you applied for this job 2 days after it was posted. I know your last 3 contracts were all short-term, high-risk assignments. I know you don't stay in one place long enough to form attachments. Heat crawled up my neck. You ran a background check. Of course I did. You're living in my home. Your security cleared me. Security tells me facts. It doesn't tell me why. His blue eyes locked onto mine. Why don't you stay, Dante? What are you running from? I'm not running. Then what do you call it? I drained the rest of my whiskey in one swallow, setting the glass down harder than necessary. I call it doing my job. Moving where the work is. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Ashton stepped closer. Not crowding, but close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. Close enough that his scent wrapped around me like smoke. You know what I think? He said quietly. I really don't care. I think someone made you believe you weren't worth staying for. The words landed like a punch to the gut. I stepped back, putting space between us. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? His gaze softened, and somehow that was worse than if he'd been angry. I've seen the way you flinch when Lucas gets too close. The way you deflect every time Carter asks a personal question. The way you look at all of us like we're about to prove you right. Right about what? That we're just like everyone else who let you down. My hands curled into fists at my sides. Stop. Why? Because I'm getting too close to the truth? Because you're my client, I snapped. Not my therapist. And my past is none of your business. It is if it affects your ability to protect us. It doesn't. Are you sure about that? I opened my mouth to argue, but the words died in my throat. Because he was looking at me like he actually cared about the answer. Like he wasn't just trying to win an argument. Like he saw me. I hated it. I had a partner once, I heard myself say. The words came out flat, empty. Another bodyguard. We worked together for 2 years. Became friends. Or at least, I thought we did. Ashton didn't interrupt. Just waited. There was a job. High-profile target, credible threat. We were supposed to watch each other's backs. I laughed, sharp and humorless. Turns out he was working for the other side, feeding them information. Routes, schedules, security gaps, everything. What happened? The client almost died. Would have, if I hadn't realized what was happening at the last second. I met Ashton's gaze. My partner walked away with a paycheck. I walked away with trust issues and a scar. I touched my jaw without thinking, fingers tracing the thin line there. That's why you work alone, Ashton said. That's why I don't get attached. There's a difference between being cautious and shutting everyone out. Not from where I'm standing. He moved closer again. And this time I didn't step back. Couldn't, with the counter behind me. We're not him, Ashton said. I don't know that. So find out. His hand lifted, hovering near my face like he wanted to touch, but was waiting for permission. Stay long enough to figure out if we're worth the risk. My pulse hammered against my ribs. This is a bad idea. Probably. I should go. You should. But his hand finally made contact, fingertips ghosting along my jaw, following the path of the scar. His touch was gentle, careful. But you're not going to. You're really confident about that. I'm confident about you. You shouldn't be. Too late. The air between us felt electric, charged with something I didn't want to name. Ashton, I started, but I didn't know how to finish. His thumb brushed the corner of my mouth. You can say no. I'll step back. Pretend this never happened. That would be smart. Probably. His gaze dropped to my lips. Are you going to? I should have. Every logical part of my brain was screaming at me to walk away, to maintain professional distance, to not do whatever this was becoming. But logic had never been my strong suit when it came to self-preservation. This is a terrible idea, I whispered. I know. We're going to regret it. Maybe. I'm serious, Ashton. This can't. He kissed me. Soft. Tentative. Like he was asking a question instead of making a demand. And God help me, I answered. My hands found his shirt, fisting in the fabric as I kissed him back. His arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer, and I let him. Let myself forget every reason this was wrong. His lips were warm, insistent but not aggressive. He tasted like whiskey and something darker, richer, addictive. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. Still think it's a terrible idea? He asked, voice rough. Absolutely. Good. He smiled against my mouth. I'd hate to be wrong. He kissed me again, deeper this time, and I stopped thinking altogether. Somewhere in the back of my mind, a voice whispered that this was going to complicate everything, that I was crossing a line I couldn't uncross. But his hands were in my hair and his scent was everywhere, and for once in my life, I didn't care about consequences. Just this. Just him. Just now. When we finally broke apart, I was pressed against the counter, his forehead resting against mine, both of us trying to remember how to breathe. That can't happen again, I said. Okay. I mean it, Ashton. I believe you. Do you? He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. No, but I'll pretend I do if it makes you feel better. I wanted to be angry, wanted to push him away and storm off and rebuild the walls he'd just demolished. Instead, I laughed, quiet and breathless and completely genuine. You're impossible, I said. I've been told. Footsteps echoed from down the hall. We sprang apart like teenagers caught making out, putting a respectable distance between us just as Lucas appeared in the doorway. He took one look at us, his gaze darting between our flushed faces and swollen lips, and grinned like Christmas had come early. Oh, he said, delighted. This is interesting. Go back to bed, Lucas, Ashton said. Not a chance. Lucas leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. I want details. There are no details, I said. Your mouth says no details, but your face says so many details. I grabbed my empty glass and headed for my room. Good night. Running away? Lucas called after me. Strategically retreating, I shot back. His laughter followed me down the hall. I closed the door to my room, pressing my back against it. My lips still tingled, my heart still raced, and I was so screwed. I slid down the door until I was sitting on the floor, knees pulled to my chest. My fingers touched my lips, still warm from Ashton's kiss. What the hell was I doing? A soft knock made me jump. Dante? Lucas's voice, quieter now. Can I come in? No. I'm coming in anyway. The door's locked. I know the code. Of course he did. The lock beeped. The door handle turned. Lucas slipped inside, closing it behind him with a soft click. He stood there for a moment, just looking at me sitting on the floor like some kind of disaster. Then he sat down next to me, shoulder brushing mine. You okay? He asked. Peachy. That's not what your scent says. I turned my head to glare at him. Stop reading my scent. It's invasive. Can't help it. He shrugged. It's like trying not to hear someone screaming. Your emotions are loud, Dante. Great. Just what I needed. Alphas who could read me like a book. What do you want? Lucas? To make sure you're not freaking out. I'm not freaking out. You're sitting on the floor at 1 in the morning after making out with my brother? That's textbook freaking out. I dropped my head back against the door with a soft thud. It was a mistake. Was it? Yes. Did it feel like a mistake? I didn't answer. Lucas's hand found mine, his fingers threading through mine with surprising gentleness. Hey, look at me. I did. His hazel eyes were warm in the dim light, filtering through the window. It's okay to want something, he said softly. It's okay to let yourself feel. No, it's not. Why? Because feelings complicate things, and complications get people hurt. Or, Lucas said, squeezing my hand, they make life worth living. I wanted to argue, wanted to pull away. But his touch was warm and steady, and I was so tired of fighting. I'm your bodyguard, I said instead. This crosses every professional line there is, so we'll redraw the lines. It doesn't work like that. Why not? He shifted, turning to face me fully. Who made up these rules anyway? Who decided you're not allowed to care about the people you protect? Experience. Whose? Yours or someone else's? The question hit too close to the truth. Lucas's thumb traced circles on the back of my hand. I don't know what happened to you before, but I know you're scared, and I know you're trying really hard to convince yourself that pushing us away is the right thing to do. It is. Is it? He leaned closer, his scent wrapping around me like a blanket. Warm honey and something spicy underneath. Because from where I'm sitting, you look miserable. I'm fine. You're a terrible liar. So you keep saying. He smiled, soft and genuine. Dante, can I tell you something? Can I stop you? Probably not. His smile widened briefly, then faded into something more serious. When you walked into that penthouse today, I felt it, like something clicking into place. And I know Ashton felt it too. Carter won't admit it yet, but he did. My heart stuttered. Lucas, I'm not saying you have to feel the same way, he continued. I'm just saying, what if you let yourself try? Just for a little while. See what happens. What happens is I get attached, and then the job ends, and I leave. Maybe you don't have to. I always do. Why? Because staying means risking everything. Because staying means watching people realize I'm not worth the effort. Because staying means eventually getting hurt. I didn't say any of that out loud. Lucas must have read something in my expression anyway, because his free hand came up to cup my face, gentle and impossibly tender. Whatever you're thinking right now, he said, whatever story you're telling yourself about why this can't work. I bet it's wrong. You don't know that. I know you. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. I've known you for less than a day, and I already know you're brave and stubborn and scared out of your mind. And I think you're worth staying for. The words cracked something open in my chest, something I'd kept locked down for years. Lucas, I whispered, this is a bad idea. I know. He leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away. But I'm full of bad ideas. That's not reassuring. It's honest. His lips brushed mine. Soft. Questioning. I should have pushed him away. Should have reminded him that I'd just kissed his brother. Should have done literally anything except what I did, which was kiss him back. It was different from Ashton. Lucas kissed like he smiled, warm and open and utterly without reservation. Like he was trying to pour every good thing in the world into that single point of contact. My hands found his shirt, pulling him closer. He made a soft sound against my mouth, surprised and pleased, and deepened the kiss. When we finally broke apart, I was half in his lap, his arms wrapped around my waist like he was afraid I'd disappear. Okay, I breathed. That was amazing, Lucas suggested. Complicated. Same thing. I laughed despite myself, the sound shaky. What are we doing? I don't know. He pressed his forehead to mine. But I'm really glad we're doing it. I kissed Ashton. Like 20 minutes ago. I know. And now I'm kissing you. I know that too. Doesn't that bother you? Lucas pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. Why would it? We share everything else. My brain stuttered to a halt. You? What? We're brothers, Dante. We've been a unit our whole lives. If you think we're going to fight over you, you're wrong. His smile turned slightly mischievous. We're going to share you, if you'll let us. That's... I trailed off, trying to find words. That's insane. Maybe. He brushed a strand of hair off my forehead. Or maybe it's perfect. Lucas. A throat cleared from the doorway. We both froze. Carter stood there, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Should I come back later, or are we having a group discussion now? Lucas grinned, completely unrepentant. Group discussion sounds good. Lucas, I hissed. What? He was going to find out anyway. Carter stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. His gray eyes swept over us, still tangled together on the floor, and something flickered in his expression. So, he said, voice carefully neutral. This is happening. Apparently, I muttered. And you're okay with it? The question was directed at me, not Lucas. I opened my mouth, closed it, tried again. I don't know what I am. That's fair. Carter moved closer, crouching down so we were at eye level. Can I ask you something? Can I stop you? His lips twitched. Probably not. Do you want this? Us? Or are you just going along with it because Lucas is persuasive and Ashton is intense? The question was so direct, so honest, that it knocked the breath out of me. I swallowed hard. I don't know. I don't do this, any of this. What do you do? I work. I leave. I don't look back. Why? Because it's easier. Easier than what? Than caring. The admission hurt coming out. Then staying and watching it fall apart. Carter's expression softened. What if it doesn't fall apart? It always does. Not always. He reached out, fingers brushing my free hand. The one Lucas wasn't holding. Sometimes things work out. Sometimes people stay. You can't promise that. No, he agreed. But I can promise to try. Lucas squeezed my other hand. We all can. I looked between them. Lucas with his open warmth, Carter with his quiet intensity, and somewhere in the penthouse, Ashton with his controlled fire. 3 alphas, who somehow saw something in me worth keeping. This is crazy, I said. Probably, Carter agreed. It's never going to work. Maybe not. I'm going to mess it up. We all will. Lucas's smile was gentle. But we'll figure it out together. Together. The word felt foreign and terrifying and impossibly tempting all at once. I can't promise anything, I said quietly. We're not asking you to, Carter said. We're just asking you to try. Try. Such a small word for such a massive leap. I took a breath. Let it out slowly. Okay, I whispered. Okay, I'll try. Lucas's face lit up like sunrise. Carter's shoulders relaxed, tension I hadn't noticed bleeding away. And somewhere deep in my chest, something that had been frozen for years began, very slowly, to thaw. Good, Lucas said, pulling me closer. Because I wasn't taking no for an answer anyway. I huffed out a laugh. That's very alpha of you. I have my moments. Carter stood, offering me his hand. Come on, you should get some actual sleep. Tomorrow's going to be long. Right. Tomorrow. The gala. 17 meetings. Lucas's doctor appointment. Reality came crashing back in. I let Carter pull me to my feet, Lucas rising beside me. For a moment, we all just stood there, close enough to touch, the air between us charged with possibility and uncertainty. So, I said, breaking the silence, how does this work? Exactly? We'll figure it out, Carter said. That's not a plan. Do you always need a plan? Yes. Lucas grinned. This is going to be fun. Your version of fun is going to give me an ulcer. Probably. He leaned in, pressing a quick kiss to my temple. But you'll survive. You're tough. I'm going to have to be, I muttered. Carter's hand found the small of my back, steadying. Get some rest, Dante. We'll talk more in the morning. Define morning. 7, breakfast. I groaned. It's almost 2. Then you better sleep fast. He guided me toward the bed, and for a second I thought he was going to leave. Instead, he surprised me by reaching out, fingers ghosting along my jaw in almost the same spot Ashton had touched earlier. Thank you, he said quietly, for trying. Before I could respond, he and Lucas slipped out, closing the door softly behind them. I stood there alone, heart hammering, mind racing. What the hell had I just agreed to? 5 hours later. My phone alarm went off at 6:30. I slapped it silent, groaning into my pillow. 5 hours of sleep. Fantastic. I dragged myself out of bed, headed for the shower. The hot water helped clear some of the fog from my brain, but not enough to stop me from replaying last night on loop. Ashton's kiss, Lucas's warmth, Carter's quiet intensity. I was so screwed. By the time I emerged, dressed in clean jeans and a black button-down, I could smell coffee and something sweeter. Pancakes, maybe. I followed my nose to the kitchen. All three of them were already there. Ashton in a pristine gray suit, reading something on his tablet. Carter at the stove, flipping what were definitely pancakes. Lucas leaning against the counter in workout clothes, hair still damp. They all looked up when I entered. "Morning," Lucas said brightly. Way too brightly for someone who'd only gotten 5 hours of sleep. "Morning," I muttered, heading straight for the coffee pot. Ashton's lips curved. "Sleep well?" "Define well." "That's a no, then." I poured myself a cup, added sugar. "I've had worse." Carter plated a stack of pancakes, sliding them across the counter toward me. "Eat. You'll need your energy." I stared at the food. "You cook?" "Sometimes." He returned to the stove. "When Lucas doesn't burn down the kitchen." "That was one time," Lucas protested. "Twice," Ashton corrected without looking up. "Okay, twice. But in my defense, the toaster was broken." The toaster was not the problem. I bit back a smile, picking up my fork. The pancakes were perfect. Light, fluffy, with just the right amount of sweetness. "These are good," I admitted. Carter glanced over his shoulder, something warm flickering in his eyes. "Thanks." We ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. It felt domestic, normal, like this was something we'd done 100 times before, instead of something brand new and terrifying. My phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Sentinel Guard, Director Hayes. "Morning briefing. Call me when you're available." I frowned. Hayes didn't usually check in unless something had changed. "Excuse me," I said, standing. "Work call." I stepped out onto the balcony, sliding the glass door closed behind me. The morning air was cool against my skin, the city already alive with traffic sounds. I dialed. Hayes picked up on the second ring. "Castellano. You called?" "Yeah, we've got an update on the Reid case." My stomach tightened. "What kind of update?" "The kind you're not going to like." Papers rustled in the background. "Our intel team picked up chatter last night. Someone's been asking questions about the triplets' schedule, specifically about tonight's gala." "How specific?" "Route, arrival time, security detail, everything." "Shit. Do we know who?" "Working on it." "But Dante." Hayes paused. "There's something else." The questions came from inside Reid Industries. My blood went cold. "Inside?" "Yeah. Someone in their own company is feeding information to an outside party. We don't know who yet, but we're running background checks on everyone with access to their schedules." I turned to look through the glass door. Ashton was laughing at something Lucas said, his usually controlled expression relaxed. Carter was refilling coffee mugs. They had no idea. "How long have you known?" I asked. "The chatter started 3 days ago. We've been monitoring it, but it escalated last night. That's why I'm calling now." 3 days ago. Right before I was hired. "Hayes," I said slowly, "why did you really assign me to this job?" Silence. "Hayes, because you're good at reading people," he said finally, "and because you're an outsider. If there's a leak inside Reid Industries, we need someone who isn't connected to their world." Understanding crashed over me like ice water. "You think I might be able to identify the leak?" I said. "I think you're in the best position to watch them. All of them. All of them. Including the triplets." "You think one of them could be involved?" I said flatly. "I think we can't rule anyone out." "Not yet." My hands curled into fists. "They're the targets, Hayes. Why would they? Money. Power. Family inheritance disputes. Take your pick." His voice was clinical. Professional. "I'm not saying they are involved. I'm saying we need to be sure they aren't." "So what? I'm supposed to spy on them?" "You're supposed to protect them. And part of protection is making sure the threat isn't coming from inside the house." I wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him he was wrong. But I couldn't. Because he was right. I didn't know these alphas. Not really. I'd known them less than 24 hours. And in that time, I'd let my guard down. Let myself get distracted. Let myself start to trust. "Dante?" Hayes' voice cut through my thoughts. "You still there?" "Yeah. I'm here. I need you focused on this. Can you do that?" Could I? I looked through the glass again. Lucas had moved to sit on the counter, stealing bites of Carter's pancakes while Carter swatted at him with a spatula. Ashton was smiling, actually smiling, watching them both. They looked real, genuine. But so had my old partner. Right up until he wasn't. "I can do it," I said, my voice hollow. Good. I'll send you the updated security protocols for tonight. Keep your eyes open, Castellano, and trust your instincts. He hung up. I stood there, phone pressed to my ear long after the call ended, staring at three alphas who might be exactly what they seemed, or might be playing me for a fool. The glass door slid open. Ashton stepped out, concern creasing his forehead. "Everything okay?" he asked. I slipped my phone into my pocket, forced a smile. "Yeah, just a briefing about tonight. Anything we should know?" "Everything." "Nothing. Just security protocols," I said. "Standard stuff." He studied me for a long moment, those blue eyes seeing too much. "You're lying." My heart kicked. "What?" "Your scent." It changed. He stepped closer. "What did they say, Dante?" This was it. The moment where I either told him the truth or doubled down on the lie. I chose the lie. "Nothing important," I said. "Just be extra careful tonight. There's been some unusual activity." "What kind of activity?" "The kind that means I'm not letting any of you out of my sight." Ashton's jaw tightened. "Is it serious?" "It could be." "Then tell me what's going on." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because I don't know if I can trust you. Because everything I felt last night might have been a mistake. Because I'm terrified that Hayes is right and you're all lying to me." "Because it's classified," I said instead. His expression hardened. "Don't shut me out, Dante. Not after last night." "Last night was..." I trailed off, not sure how to finish. A mistake? A moment of weakness? The beginning of something that was about to blow up in my face? "What?" Ashton demanded. "What was last night?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "I don't know what any of this is." "Then let me help you figure it out." "You can't." "Why not?" "Because..." I took a breath. Let it out. "Because right now, I need to focus on keeping you alive. Everything else is a distraction." Something flickered in his eyes. "Hurt, maybe. Or disappointment." "So that's it?" he said quietly. "We're back to being client and bodyguard?" "We never stopped being that." "That's not true." "It has to be." "Dante." "Please," I interrupted. My voice came out rougher than intended. "Just let me do my job." For a moment I thought he was going to argue, push back like he had last night. Instead, he stepped away. "Fine," he said, his tone carefully neutral. "Do your job then." He walked back inside, leaving me alone on the balcony with the city stretching out below and a truth I couldn't speak sitting like poison on my tongue. I'd wanted to try, wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, this could work. But trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. Not when everything might be a lie. I gripped the balcony railing, knuckles white, watching the city blur through eyes that stung. Get it together. I couldn't afford to fall apart. Not now. Not when people's lives depended on me staying sharp. Behind me, voices drifted through the glass, muffled, tense. I caught fragments. "What did you say to him?" "Lucas," voice tight with concern. "Nothing." "Ashton, cold, controlled." "Apparently that's the problem." "Ash." "Leave it, Lucas." I should go back inside. Face them. Pretend everything was fine. Instead, I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the files Hayes had sent. Security detail, guest list, floor plans. And buried at the bottom, a list of Reid Industries employees flagged for secondary background checks. 43 names. I didn't recognize most of them, but 3 stood out. Marcus Bellamy, head of security. Sophia Chen, executive assistant to the Reid brothers. David Park, CFO. People who had access. People who would know schedules, routes, security protocols. People the triplets trusted. My stomach churned. The glass door slid open again. I didn't turn around. "If you're going to lecture me too, save it," I said. "I'm not here to lecture." Carter's voice. Quiet, careful. "I'm here to ask if you're okay." "I'm fine." "You're really not." I finally looked at him. He stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, gray eyes sharp behind his glasses. "Something happened on that call," he said. "What was it?" "I told you, security protocols. And I'm telling you that's bullshit." He stepped out onto the balcony, letting the door close behind him. "You came back different. Guarded, like someone flipped a switch." "Maybe they did." "Why?" "Because I can't trust you. Because someone in your company is trying to kill you, and I don't know if it's one of your employees or one of you." "It's complicated," I said instead. "Try me." I met his gaze. What if I told you there's a leak in your company? Someone feeding information to whoever's threatening you? Carter's expression didn't change. I'd ask if you have proof. Working on it. And in the meantime? In the meantime, I do my job. Which includes shutting us out. Which includes not making assumptions about who I can trust. The words hung between us, sharp and cutting. Carter was silent for a long moment. Then, you think it might be one of us? It wasn't a question. I think I'd be an idiot not to consider the possibility, I said. Fair. He moved closer, stopping just within arm's reach. Can I tell you something? Can I stop you? His lips quirked, almost a smile. Probably not. When our father died 6 months ago, we inherited everything. The company, the money, the enemies he'd made building his empire. I read your file. Then you know he wasn't a good man. Carter's voice was flat. Matter of fact, he was ruthless, manipulative. He destroyed anyone who got in his way, including us sometimes. I watched him carefully. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand something. We didn't want this. Any of it. Lucas wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to teach. Ashton. He paused. Ashton wanted to be free, but our father made sure we couldn't walk away. And now he's dead, and we're stuck cleaning up his mess. That doesn't answer my question. Doesn't it? Carter held my gaze. If one of us wanted out, Dante, we'd just leave. We wouldn't orchestrate elaborate threats and corporate espionage. We'd walk away and let the whole thing burn. Unless you can't leave, I countered. Unless there's something keeping you here. Like what? Money, power, guilt. Take your pick. Or loyalty. His voice softened. To each other. The three of us are all we've got. We've been protecting each other our whole lives. Why would we stop now? I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. But wanting wasn't enough. I don't know you, I said quietly. I want to, but I don't. And until I do, I can't. Can't what? Trust us? Carter stepped closer. Close enough that I could feel his warmth, smell his scent, rain and something crisp underneath. Or can't let yourself want to? Both. At least you're honest. It's all I've got right now. He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, his fingers brushed my cheek, gentle and careful. Then let me be honest too, he said. I don't care what your file says or what your boss thinks. I know what I feel when you're near, and I know my brothers feel it too. Maybe that makes us fools. Maybe we're wrong about you, but I don't think we are. My chest tightened. Carter, you don't have to say anything. I just need you to know that whatever you're afraid of, whatever's making you pull away, we're not going anywhere, even if you push us. That's a terrible strategy. Probably. His thumb traced my jawline. But it's the only one I've got. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. I pulled it out, grateful for the interruption. Unknown number. You've been asking questions. Stop. Ice flooded my veins. What is it? Carter asked, reading my expression. I showed him the screen. His jaw tightened. When did this come in? Just now. From who? Unknown number. I was already pulling up tracking software. Give me a second. My fingers flew across the screen, running the number through every database I had access to. Nothing. Burner phone, probably. Can you trace it? Carter asked. Not without more sophisticated equipment. I looked up at him. But whoever sent this knows I'm investigating, which means they're watching, or someone told them. Yeah, the realization settled between us, heavy and ominous. We need to tell Ashton and Lucas, Carter said. Agreed. We headed back inside. Ashton and Lucas looked up as we entered, the tension from earlier still hanging in the air. We've got a problem, I said, holding up my phone. Lucas was on his feet in an instant. What kind of problem? I showed them the message. Watch their expressions shift from confusion to anger. Someone's threatening you? Lucas's voice dropped an octave. Who? If I knew that, we wouldn't have a problem. I pocketed my phone. But whoever it is, they know I'm looking into the leak, which means we're running out of time. The gala, Ashton said. They're going to make a move tonight. Maybe. Or they're trying to scare me off before I find them. Are they succeeding? Lucas asked. I met his gaze. What do you think? He grinned, fierce and sharp. I think whoever sent that just made a very bad mistake. Agreed. I pulled up the security protocols on my tablet. Here's what's going to happen. Tonight we go to the gala as planned, but we're changing everything. Routes, timing, security positions. Nothing goes according to the original schedule. Will that be enough? Carter asked. It'll have to be. I looked at each of them in turn, and I need you to do exactly what I say when I say it. No arguments, no exceptions. Even if we don't understand why? Ashton asked. Especially then. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. Okay? I repeated, surprised. You're the expert. We trust you. Trust. That word again. You shouldn't, I said before I could stop myself. Too late. Lucas moved closer, his hand finding mine. You're stuck with us now, Dante. Whether you like it or not. I'm starting to think or not is the safer option. Safe is boring. His thumb brushed my knuckles. And I don't think you do boring. I'm trying to keep you alive, not entertained. Who says you can't do both? Despite everything, despite the threat and the fear and the crushing weight of responsibility, I almost smiled. Almost. We need to prep, I said instead, pulling my hand free. The gala starts in 8 hours. That gives us time to coordinate with my backup team and run through contingencies. What do you need from us? Ashton asked. Stay close, stay alert, and if I tell you to run, you run. No heroics. Define heroics. Anything that gets you killed. Carter adjusted his glasses. That's a fairly broad definition. It's meant to be. My phone buzzed again. Different number this time. Hayes. Director Hayes. Be advised. Credible threat confirmed for tonight. Recommend postponing the event. I showed the message to the triplets. Absolutely not, Ashton said immediately. Ashton. If we cancel, they win. They'll just try again. And next time, we won't see it coming. He's right, Carter said. We end this tonight. Lucas squeezed my shoulder. We'll be careful. Promise. I looked at the three of them, 3 alphas who should have been terrified but instead looked determined. Ready. Possibly insane. Fine, I said. But we do this my way. Agreed? Agreed, they said in unison. I took a breath. Let it out slowly. Tonight everything would come to a head. The threat. The leak. The impossible thing growing between us that I still didn't have a name for. And somewhere in the chaos I was going to have to choose. Between duty and desire. Between safety and risk. Between walking away and staying to see what happened next. All right, I said, pulling up the floor plans. Let's get to work. We spent the next hour dissecting every detail. Escape routes, backup positions, communication protocols. The triplets listened, asked intelligent questions, and didn't once try to argue when I vetoed something for safety reasons. It should have been reassuring. Instead, it made my chest ache. They trusted me, completely. Even after I'd pulled away, even after I'd all but accused them of being threats, they still trusted me. Dante? Lucas's voice pulled me from my thoughts. You okay? I blinked, realizing I'd been staring at the same floor plan for 3 minutes without actually seeing it. Yeah, fine. Just thinking. About? Everything. Nothing. How much easier this would be if I didn't care about them. Contingencies. I lied. Lucas didn't look convinced, but he let it drop. My phone buzzed. Marcus Cho, my backup for tonight. Marcus. Just arrived at the venue. Running preliminary sweep. Will report back in 30. Me. Copy. Stay alert. I set the phone down, rubbing my temples. The beginnings of a headache pulsed behind my eyes. When's the last time you ate? Carter asked. Breakfast. That was 6 hours ago. Had it been? Time had blurred together, urgency and adrenaline making minutes feel like seconds. I'm fine. You're not. Carter stood, heading for the kitchen. Sit. I'm making you something. Carter. Sit, Dante. The firmness in his voice left no room for argument. I sat. Ashton's hand landed on my shoulder, warm and steady. You don't have to carry all of this alone, you know. It's my job. It's our lives. His fingers squeezed gently. That makes it our responsibility, too. Lucas appeared on my other side, sliding into the chair next to me. He's right. You keep trying to protect us from everything, including ourselves. But we're not fragile, Dante. We can handle the truth. The truth. God, where did I even start? I don't know how to do this, I admitted quietly. Any of this. I'm good at my job. I'm good at keeping people safe. But this. I gestured vaguely between us. I don't know how to be what you need and still do my job. Maybe you don't have to choose, Ashton said. That's not how it works. Why not? Because feelings compromise judgment. Because caring makes you vulnerable. Because my voice cracked. I forced myself to continue. Because the last time I cared about someone I was supposed to protect, I almost got them killed. Silence fell over the room. Carter set a plate in front of me. Sandwich, chips, water. Simple, perfect. Then he sat down across from me, gray eyes impossibly gentle. Tell us. So I did. I told him about Jakarta, about the client who'd become a friend, about my partner who'd smiled and joked and fed information to the people trying to kill her, about the moment I'd realized what was happening, seconds before the bullet that was meant for her head grazed my jaw instead, about how I'd saved her life but lost something vital in the process, the ability to trust, to believe that people meant what they said. She's alive because you were good at your job, Lucas said when I finished. Not in spite of caring. Because of it. I got lucky. No. Ashton's voice was firm. You were skilled, aware, and fast. The betrayal wasn't your fault, and neither is what you're feeling now. I shouldn't be feeling anything. You're my clients. We're also people you kissed last night, Lucas pointed out. Multiple people. Enthusiastically, I might add. Despite everything, I huffed out a laugh. That's not helping, isn't it? His smile was gentle. Dante, you're allowed to be human. You're allowed to want things, even if those things are complicated, especially if they're complicated, Carter added. I picked at the sandwich, suddenly exhausted. What if Hayes is right? What if one of you is involved? Then you'll figure it out, Ashton said simply. And you'll do what needs to be done. We trust you to make the right call. Even if that call is walking away, even then. The certainty in his voice broke something loose in my chest. I don't want to walk away, I whispered. Lucas's hand found mine under the table. Then don't. It's not that simple. It could be. Carter leaned forward. If you let it? Before I could respond, my phone rang. Hayes, I answered, putting it on speaker. Hayes. Castellano. We've got him. David Park, CFO of Reid Industries. Caught him trying to flee the country with embezzled funds. He's been orchestrating the threats to cover his tracks. Relief crashed over me so suddenly I couldn't breathe. You're sure? Positive. He had detailed plans, communications with hired muscle, everything. We also recovered his assistant, Sophia Chen's daughter. Park was using her as leverage to force Chen to feed him information. Both she and the girl are safe now. I closed my eyes. And the threat? Neutralized. Park was working alone. It's over. Dante. Over. Just like that. Thanks, Hayes. I managed. Good work. Take a few days off. You've earned it. He hung up. I set the phone down slowly, staring at it like it might explode. Did he just say? Lucas started. It's over, I repeated, the words feeling foreign. The threat's gone. Ashton's hand tightened on my shoulder. You did it. Hayes did it. You kept us alive long enough for him to catch the bastard, Carter interrupted. Don't downplay what you did. The weight I'd been carrying since that first phone call from Hayes finally lifted. My shoulders sagged, exhaustion and relief mixing into something that made my eyes sting. Hey, Lucas was suddenly there, pulling me into his arms. It's okay. You're okay. We're all okay. I buried my face in his shoulder, breathing in his scent. Warm honey and safety. Carter's hand found my back, rubbing gentle circles. Ashton's fingers threaded through my hair. I was so scared, I admitted, voice muffled, that I'd fail, that I'd lose you. You didn't, Ashton said softly. We're right here. That evening, we never made it to the gala. Instead, we ordered takeout and sprawled across the penthouse living room in comfortable clothes, stress bleeding away with every passing minute. So, Lucas said, stealing a spring roll from my plate, what happens now? Now? I raised an eyebrow. You pay me, and I move on to my next job. The room went quiet. Or, Carter said carefully, you could stay. My heart stuttered. Stay? The threat's gone, but we still need security, Ashton said. Permanently. We could hire you directly. No agency, no contracts with end dates. Just you and us, Lucas added, his hazel eyes hopeful. I looked at the three of them. These alphas who'd become everything in less than 48 hours. That's not the only reason we want you to stay, Carter said quietly. You know that, right? I swallowed hard. I don't know what you want me to say. Say you feel it too, Ashton said, moving closer. This thing between us, tell me I'm not imagining it. You're not imagining it. The admission came easier than I expected. I feel it. I just don't know what to do about it. Then let us show you. Lucas took my hand, threading our fingers together. Stay, Dante. Not just as our bodyguard. Stay as more. More. I repeated. Our mate, Carter said, and the words settled into my chest like it had always belonged there. If you want to be. Did I want to be? 3 days ago, the answer would have been no. Automatic. Self-preservation. But 3 days ago, I hadn't known what it felt like to be seen. Really seen. To have people look past the walls and the scars and the fear and still choose to stay. I'm broken, I said quietly. I've got trust issues and a terrible track record with relationships, and I don't know the first thing about being someone's mate. Good thing there are 3 of us to help you figure it out, Lucas said with a grin. We're not asking for perfect, Ashton added. We're asking for real. For you. Just you, Carter confirmed. I looked at each of them in turn. Saw the hope and warmth and absolute certainty in their expressions. Okay, I breathed. Okay, I'll stay. The joy that flooded their faces was almost blinding. Ashton cupped my face, kissing me slow and deep. When he pulled back, Lucas took his place, his kiss warm and playful. Carter was last, his kiss gentle but no less intense. I love you, Ashton murmured against my temple. We all do. The words caught in my throat. I'm not there yet, but I think I could be, given time. We've got nothing but time, Lucas said, pulling me against his chest. Carter settled on my other side, his arm wrapping around my waist. Ashton sat across from us, his blue eyes soft with contentment. So, I said, trying to sound casual despite the way my heart was racing. How does this work? The whole 3 alphas, 1 omega thing? Carefully, Carter said with a small smile. Lots of communication, Ashton added. And probably some arguing, Lucas admitted cheerfully. But we'll figure it out. Together, I said. Together, they agreed. And months later, I woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and the weight of Lucas's arm draped across my waist. Carter was already up. I could hear him in the kitchen making coffee. Ashton's side of the bed was still warm, which meant he'd only recently left for his morning run. This was my life now. Mornings tangled up with 3 alphas who loved me. Who chose me, broken pieces and all. I still worked as their head of security. But now it was different. Now I wasn't just protecting clients. I was protecting my mates, my family. The word still felt strange. Family, but in the best way. Lucas stirred, pressing a sleepy kiss to my shoulder. Morning, I murmured. You okay? I turned to face him, taking in his sleep-mussed hair and soft smile. Yeah, I really am. And I meant it. The nightmares had faded. The constant vigilance had eased. I still had moments of doubt, still caught myself waiting for the other shoe to drop, but they were always there. Steady, patient, proving day after day that they weren't going anywhere. The bond had formed slowly, naturally, not forced or rushed. Just 3 alphas and 1 omega, learning how to fit together, one day at a time. Come on, Lucas said, pulling me out of bed. Carter made pancakes, and if we don't get down there, Ashton's going to eat them all. I let him lead me to the kitchen, where Carter was indeed flipping pancakes, while Ashton stole pieces of bacon from a plate. Morning, Ashton said, grinning when he saw us. Sleep well? Better than you deserve after hogging the blankets, I said, but there was no heat in it. He pulled me close, pressing a kiss to my forehead. I'll make it up to you. You better. Carter slid a plate in front of me, loaded with pancakes and fruit. Eat. You've got that meeting with the board this afternoon. Right. The meeting where we'd officially announce my permanent position as head of security for Reid Industries. Nervous? Lucas asked, reading my expression. A little, I admitted. Don't be. Ashton's hand found mine under the table. You've got this. And we've got you. I looked around at the 3 of them. My mates. My home. Yeah, I said softly. I know. And for the first time in my life, I actually believed it. Later that evening, after the meeting had gone perfectly and we were all back in the penthouse, I found myself on the balcony watching the city lights. 3 sets of arms wrapped around me from behind. "Thank you," I said quietly. "For what?" Carter asked. "For not giving up. For staying. For—" I took a breath. "For loving me. Always," Ashton promised. "Forever," Lucas added. Without question, Carter finished. I turned in their embrace, looking at each of their faces in the soft evening light. These 3 alphas who changed everything. "I love you," I said. The words came easy now. Natural. True. All of you. Their smiles could have lit up the entire city. And as they held me close, their scents wrapping around me like a promise, I knew I was finally, truly home. The end.